2 minutes.
About a good 2 minutes. Yeah.
I was going to say, you think about the change in the world that happened after the 60s, after, smoking pot with students, and you could just see the demonic influence in the world coming in the 60s. But I grew up in a farming town in Nebraska, more in the late 40s, and in the 50s. Everybody kept their keys in their car. Everybody kept their house open because somebody might need something.
Right.
So as kids after school, I got to go to the bathroom. So you could go to somebody's house, and it was not, that was the way it was. There was so much honesty and trust, and it was very benevolent. And then that all changed in the 60s. And so watch it escalate. What happened? School leaves out of prayer. You can't use the name of God in school. And you just watch the deterioration of society since then.
Yeah, this is where we are today. And I'm just saying, look, this is all, everything is about the rule and reign of God on earth. Taking back this earth for Him, so that everything comes under His dominion. I'll keep saying it this way. It's all about Him. We are in Him. And it's about His rule and His reign. And the question that we have to ask is, are we contributing to that rule and reign, or are we not contributing to that? And the whole point of the Torah is to give us the mechanism, the means by which we demonstrate surrender to the sovereignty of God. It's a moral compass. It's an ethical compass. It gives us a compass for everything. How do I know which direction I'm supposed to go? Follow this. If you follow the Torah, it says, this is true north. This is the direction you should go. Walk this way. Walk in this direction. If you head this direction, you'll be fine. Even when you don't feel like you're heading in the right direction. It will guide you. Now, I've said to people before, using this metaphor, I'll close with this. We've had, when you go on the big ships, you can't guide yourself on the big ships by, especially if you go out to sea, you can't guide yourself by the shoreline. Not when you get to where you can't see the shoreline. Then you better have some charts and maps, or some GPS in these days. You better have something bigger than just the shore. That's great to follow if you're going to hug the shore. But if you're going to be out in the deeper waters, you better have something that's a little more trustworthy. Then you have to have the charts. You have to pull up the maps and the charts, and you have to trust the charts and go, you know what? Okay, somebody laid out this before us. Somebody came before us and laid this out and said, this is the direction. And even if I don't feel like I'm going in the right direction, you head in the right direction. The compass will guide you. The maps will guide you. You can follow the lighthouse when you get close to the shore. That's great. But the lighthouse only goes so far.
You're absolutely right. But, the Torah is our compass, and it is our chart. And I speak from experience. When you're 30 days from one land to the next time in a small little boat, 38 foot long, one thing you really watch carefully is you take care of your compass. You'll wander around for a long time out there if you break it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have that guide that says, okay, this is where we're going. Somebody has been in these waters before and knows how to navigate them. Because we cannot navigate life without the charts of Torah to say to us, and the point of Torah is that, you know what? Sometimes it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. My brother-in-law is a pilot. At times, as a pilot, you get vertigo. You get disoriented.
You have to
at
trust
that time,
your
you better
instruments.
follow your charts. You better follow the maps that are on the panel there. Because if not, you may think that you're doing this and you're actually doing this. Because it feels. How many of you have that experience? I just had it recently where I'm at the stoplight, I look, and the car coming up beside me made me feel like I was moving. Yeah. You ever had that feeling? So I slammed on the brakes again. I'm thinking, well, I got the brakes on, what am I doing? But it's that feel. And at that moment, you act in the feeling. You act on the feeling. And the Torah says, you know what you have to do? you have to work around that and do what this says, even if you don't feel like it, even if it doesn't, even if you feel disoriented, even if it doesn't feel right, whatever that is, do this. Yes.
It's funny because your friend, the example, the email, the woman caught in adultery, are you going to really stone her and all that stuff, right? Remember that? So
Yes.
he's being a little sarcastic with you as a point of order.
Yes.
But if you think about it, the Torah was the compass. They brought the woman to him. She was caught in adultery. They had the witnesses. The whole thing was coming down the pipe, and it took him a second, so he got to just write it. And he went, the culmination of this is love. So let the first one of you that is without sin kill her. And nobody could.
Well, by the way, that was Torah as well.
Exactly.
The Torah
That's my
says
point,
that
is
the
he-
witnesses have to be the ones to throw the stone first. And if they refuse to throw a stone, then nobody can throw one.
But see, I didn't know that part of the law.
So-
But as Christ, in Christ's eye, right there, the fulfillment of the actual verdict of you're guilty, honey, was still, can we find a way out of this? Love is the point of the order, not the...
But then what does he say to her? Go and sin no more. He doesn't say, see, here's my difficulty. We have, and I should end with this, but we have cheap grace. You know, shall we sin that grace may abound? God forbid.
Right. In another place
But
he says...
this is Dietrich Bonhoeffer's point, and I'm not for everything Dietrich Bonhoeffer said. That's not my point. But he said we've had so much cheap grace that nobody takes sin seriously.
In another place he says, sin no more lest a worse thing come upon you.
Yes. He's always telling that to people. Yeshua is dealing with people, but he always says this to them: go and sin no more. He finds the man in the tabernacle, the man that was blind, and he says to him, he pulls him aside the tabernacle and says, hey, or temple, he says, stop sinning. Okay? Knock it off. Yeah.
Amen.
That story is a good illustration of your point, explaining the part about him writing in the sand and why that is dealing with.
Yeah, I think that goes back, the writing in the sand, I think, goes back to Jeremiah 17:11, where in Jeremiah 17:11 he says, I will write the names of those who have strayed from me in the dirt. And so it's interesting that maybe what he's doing is, that's the only time in the Hebrew scriptures we have this writing in the sand. So maybe Yeshua, is sitting there and he's writing down things that he knows about these guys.
What
Possibly.
he's saying is that you're not following my Torah because they only brought the woman.
Right, they bring the man. They didn't follow the Torah.
And that's why afterwards they said they walked away and were ashamed.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another good point. Is that maybe where's the guy? If you caught her in the very act like you said, there ought to be two people.
Maybe he was in the crowd.
Maybe he's in the crowd. Maybe he's one of their buddies and they don't want to turn him in. Okay, so the Torah says I got to have two if they're caught in the act, and two witnesses. Okay, fine. You two witnesses throw this first stone. That's what the Torah says. Nobody else can throw a stone until the witnesses first throw theirs first.
Maybe he was the witness.
And so the witnesses say, we're not throwing a stone. Who knows what he wrote, but he's writing about Jeremiah 17. And they're going back to this Jeremiah 17 passage. He knows us. Look how many times in the Gospels it says this, and knowing their thoughts. And he knew what they were thinking. So he knows. And my point is to say that he's following the Torah. Yeshua is following the Torah. Okay, fine. The Torah says the witnesses have to be cross-examined. They say that they caught her in the act. All right, fine. Tell me what you know.
Where was the guy that
when?
was in the act? What happened to the guy that was in the act with her?
That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Torah is not being followed.
No, it's not.
And so he's cross-examining the witnesses, which is a good thing, which is what the Torah says you have to do. He's following it at every point. And he's not letting her off the hook. He knows she's guilty. He says to her, "Go, hey woman, where are your accusers?" "I don't have any." "All right, go and sin no more." You and I know you just got off on a technicality. But the Torah was followed.
And that same principle worked when Yeshua came in and he met the Samaritan woman at the well, and he said, "Hey, you've had 5 husbands." And who did he reach first? His own people rejected him, but the Samaritans, she called everybody up and said, "Hey, here's the Mashiach."
Right. Although I'm going to go back to that one just for a moment. I'm not convinced the Samaritan woman was a sinner. That's me. Go back and read the text. Does it say that she was a sinner? Just a gentle challenge.
She couldn't have been because she knew me.
Huh?
She said she had, what, 7 husbands?
No, 5.
5 husbands, and the one she was with was not her husband.
Yeah, okay.
There are 6.
Yeah, I have a daughter that lives at home, and
Yeah.
she's living with a man that's not her husband. If I have a single daughter that lives at home, she's living with a man who's not her husband.
Well, okay.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I can say that a woman can live with a man who's not her husband, and it doesn't mean that it's not, that it's.
Yeah, but I think the way he's words that he's saying, you've had 5.
You're not saying she's had 5 husbands.
Hey, she had 5 husbands, but hold on.
Maybe they all died.
Wait, maybe they all died.
How many women could initiate a divorce back then?
Very few, almost none. I'm just saying, before we
Decided she's guilty.
before we decided that she's guilty,
Right.
Based-
5 of them died, is she a lousy cook?
but it doesn't, but look, it doesn't, here's my point. Here's my point.
We're all guilty.
But here's my point. We sometimes read into the text, sometimes, things that aren't there.
Come on, not Mormons, you pal.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking that even Satan was using this word too. I mean, anybody can use the word to defend what they want to believe.
Sure.
You know, what he did with Yeshua on the temple, right? The word says, blah, 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 you know? And so, I mean, you know, it's really, you know, it's like you have to know what you're talking about. You can't just choose a scripture to defend your selfish, you know,
Right. What's interesting about this woman, the Samaritan woman, is he doesn't say to her, "Go and sin no more." He never tries to condemn her as far as being a sinner, which is interesting. With other people, he is. He's more than willing to say, "Hey, I know what your life is like. You know, knock it off." He didn't say that to her. I find it interesting. Just read it. All I'm saying is, here's what I started reading. Here's how I started reading. Is thinking in terms of, am I putting something there that's not there? Am I assuming the worst before I've really proven that that's the case? I'll give you an example. All of us, as soon as I say somebody's name in the Bible, you're going to say, we're going to go to the worst possible case scenario. David and, why not David and Goliath? But see, you know, Samson and Delilah, right? We're going to go to the worst possible, you know, we remember the negative. So I've said it this way, you know, the good that people do, we don't remember. The bad they do, we don't forget.
That's right.
And what does a father do? Typical father. Kid brings home a report card, 5 A's and 1 B. What does he say? Why'd you get the B? What happened with the B? Not, oh, you got 5 A's. It's, what happened to B? Focus on the negative. So we tend, as humanity, to focus on the negative.